What does an engineer do when he wants to know how things work? Take them apart, of course. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to take some stuff apart today. I have in front of me my AGV Sport Modular that I did the end of life review on. Paul from Paul's Messy Workshop said, well, what do you do at the end of a helmet when you're done? So normally I cut the straps off. As you can see, straps are off, and throw it in the garbage. Well, he recommended we open them up and cut them open and see what's inside. So I have that helmet, and I also have an old Shoei helmet from the 1990s. So 30-year difference in helmets. So we're going to cut them apart. I've learned the hard way, always wear your protective gear. So I've got goggles, gloves, and even an N95 mask. The reason I'm wearing a mask is I know this helmet is made of carbon fiber, and as we cut, I expect it to come loose. And then I believe this one's made of fiberglass. Either carbon fiber or fiberglass, I don't want to breathe them in. So I'm going to reposition the camera and we'll get started. Here we are. This is the Shoei helmet I was talking about. It's an X9. It says the dual liner system. This was state of the art back in the mid 90s. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this open using a scroll saw. So I have a scroll saw here with a wood cutting blade. It's the extra length wood cutting blade. So hopefully it'll be long enough to cut through the shell and the inner liner. I am going to start by cutting the fabric with a utility knife, because what I don't want to happen is I don't want the saw blade to get caught up in the fabric. So this helmet does not have a changeable liner like the AGV Sport Modular. So I'm going to just pull this out. It was just glued into the shell. Then I'm going to cut the liner. Now how well you can see it on camera, but I've got it all cut away. Now let's do the brow area. Same thing. I'm just going to cut a section out. Okay, so I have cleared a path for our saw. So there it is in the rear. There it is in the front. Let's get started. So I'm going to cut the chin bar first. There's no fabric in there. So I'm going to cut the chin bar, and then we'll work on the rest of the helmet. Again, I am wearing, and you can't see it on camera, but I am wearing goggles, N95 mask. That's probably why my voice sounds a little muffled. And these gloves, because there's going to be fibers that are going to come loose, and I don't want them in my skin, in my eyes, or in my lungs. All right, let's go. So I'm just using a wood bit, and it's getting worn down pretty quick. So I'm going to change the bit out, and we'll get going again. I think I'm going to use a more aggressive bit, so we'll see if it lasts any longer. I've changed to a more aggressive bit. I don't know how well you can see it, but these are just regular carbon steel bits, nothing fancy, so that's probably why they're wearing so quick. I'll follow this path back up, and then we'll keep going. All right, there is a Shoei X9 cut in half. I'm going to clean up, and then we'll cut into the AGV Sport Modular. All right, here we are with the Sport Modular. Like the Shoei, I'm going to get the liner out of the way. This is a little bit different in that the liner can be removed separate from the helmet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. So one of the things I talked about in the review is how this has a cool side and a warm side. It's a reversible liner. So I'm just going to pull this right directly out. There you go. I still do need to cut the back because I don't want to run the saw through this. Also, I'm going to remove the chin guard here in the front. that. Also, originally I was just going to take the chin bar off, but one thing I do want to see is the difference between a chin bar on the modular helmet versus the chin bar on a full face helmet. I can't cut directly through the middle because that's where all the venting and stuff is. So I'm going to cut just to the side of it. So there is nothing else on the inside, so that's pretty easy to go ahead and cut. And let's go ahead and cut a section out of the rear. Also, one thing I noticed is that the wiring is still there for, actually let's just go ahead and remove all of this. Instead of cutting it, I'll just remove it. Yeah, that's another good thing with modern helmets, or at least high quality modern helmets, is a lot of the liners are removable so that they can be washed. All right, so here we are. I'm going to cut these wires. Actually, I don't need to. I can just pull this out of the way. There. Now we have a clean shot to cut all the way through. Like I said, I'm going to start with the chin bar, and I'm just going to cut just to the side of the vent mechanism. All right, there's that. Yeah, this is just held on with 2 screws. I could have removed it and cut it separate, but hey, we're doing this all at once. All right, let's do the main body. And there we have it. So here is a cutaway of the AGV Sport Modular. All right, I am going to reposition the camera and we'll go through the differences. There are quite a few, a surprising amount of differences, more than I thought there would be. Here are the 2 helmets side by side. Shoei on your right and the AGV Sport Modular on your left. A couple of things from a helmet construction standpoint are dramatically different. So looking at the Shoei, the thickness of the shell is a variable thickness. So I brought my calipers out, and the thinnest spot is probably right here, right about at the top of your head, and it is 3.3 millimeters. But then you look at the thickest part, which is right at the back of your head, and it is around 8. So it's a variable thickness all the way along. Again, the thickest part is back here, and the thinnest is up towards the top. The AGV, on the other hand, is thin. The shell is thin all the way around. Now, that could be because it's carbon fiber, and they're looking for a lightweight. So there is 1.8 millimeters here on the top. 1.8. And then similarly, let's see what it is right there in the forehead. According to this, 2 millimeters-ish. Oh, no, there we go. Once I get it straight, 1.8, 1.75. So the shell on the AGV is an equal thickness, very thin. Another thing to notice is the thickness of the foam. Now, when I cut this, I didn't cut it right in the narrowest spot. So this is the rib, if you will, that allows air to flow through. But if we measure it there, the foam here is around 42.5 millimeters. Here at the thinner spot, it is down to 36. Overall, the top of the helmet is really thick foam. Comparatively, the foam on the old 30-year-old helmet is about 38, 39 millimeters, pretty much all the way around until you get to the back of the neck or back of the head, and then it goes down to around 36. So comparatively, if we're looking at, what did I say here? Around 36 at the thinnest, but really thick at the top, 40, let's try it again, 44, 45. Another thing to notice, I don't know how well you can see it on camera, I'll move it, is that there's multiple layers of styrofoam on the Shoei, and it looks like they're glued together. As I push on it, you can hear the glue crack. So yeah, there's two pieces of foam, and this foam is really stiff. It's really hard. Come over here, there's multiple pieces, but they're done in sections. So here's a rear section, here's the main crown, here's a forehead, and this foam is a lot more compliant. So my opinion is that the more compliant foam will absorb energy much better than a dense foam. Also, a few other things to notice. Though this has a modular chin bar, look at the thickness difference of the two chin bars side by side. Yeah, this is a full face helmet, and I'm assuming that part of the reason why this can be thinner is it's part of the structure of the helmet. So we are looking at the thickest point, let's see, about 15 millimeters, 14 and a half. You look here at its thickest point, we are 30. So about twice, more than twice, the thickness of the foam in the chin bar. So I was really kind of surprised to see that because, you know, modular helmets really aren't known for the chin bar strength. So yeah, this looks like it'll absorb a whole lot more. One of the biggest things though, looking at these two helmets side by side, and I'm sure you've noticed this as I've gone along, is the comfort features. Now, this is a 30-year-old helmet. It's been sitting forever. But one thing you'll notice is the foam, though it's broken down here, it's old, is really thin, and there's not much of it. So in this helmet, you have the foam that goes on the side, you have a little bit around the back, and then you have this crown piece. And then I tried to salvage it, but you know, the rest of this stuff just falls apart, and it's so thin. I'm not sure where these pieces were. I think this may have been the forehead piece, yeah, that we cut out. But you know, it's so thin, and the foam there is so broken down now over time. But you know, it really isn't designed as much for comfort as the modern AGV. So I took scissors and I cut that helmet liner that we removed to get it out of the way when we cut it. And one thing I found is there's thick foam everywhere. So this really, in addition to the softer styrofoam, which, like I said before, is what I believe is for impact resistance or impact absorbance, is the amount of cushion all the way around the head. And then there's a curtain or a skirt that goes around the back, and I had cut it, but you know, look how thick that is. And that goes right up against the rider's neck. And then under the chin bar, there's a vent or a skirt. And look at how much cushion is there. Now these, like I've seen in other helmets, are there to cut down on wind noise. So, you know, they're definitely, you know, there for something other than comfort. But even the side cushions, comparatively, so if you look at the two side cushions side by side, you know, granted this is older and the foam is broken down over time, but even this one, the foam is, yeah, a lot thinner than when you compare it to here. And this is more plush, and the materials are much more comfortable. One also added advantage of modern helmets is all of this can be removed to allow it to be washed separately. In here, you just have a stinky helmet. Another thing I want to point out, and maybe it's a form factor, maybe it's a brand difference, both of these helmets are a size large. So when you look at the size of the shell, and I'm going to set them down both. If you look at the size of the shell, there's a lot more to the AGV helmet, right? It stands a little bit taller. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to line up the insides on these helmets, but yeah, looking at the two form factors, if we go front of chin bar to back of helmet, there's a lot more substantial material on the AGV Sport Modular compared to a 30-year older Shoei helmet. There you have it. That is the difference over 30 years in helmet design. So from a modern helmet to a helmet from 30 years ago, big difference. Construction, comfort, even the venting, which I didn't talk about. There's a whole lot more visible venting in the modern helmets. I want to thank Paul from Paul's Messy Workshop for recommending this. What a great idea. I hope you enjoyed this video because I sure enjoyed making it. If you did like it, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I always need more subscribers. Hit the bell, you'll be notified of more content. And as always, thanks for watching. Go far with Brent.